So you failed your class, you failed your test 4 or 5 times, and now you're teaching the classes.
And not only that, what also is a bitch is that I was told that I wouldn't make it in the industry if I only cut hair. So now I'm teaching cosmetologists who did not get taught how to cut hair in cosmetology class.
That's crazy, man. It's all good, man. We're episode 1 of the Rob and Cory show.
It's actually episode 2.
It's actually episode 2 because the first episode we had some technical difficulties.
Well, I think that this is considered episode 2 because we're actually back in front of the cameras. And all content is content, you know.
Absolutely, bro.
So I don't think that
you've had like 16 episodes in between the episodes then. If that's what you consider episodes, as being in front of the camera. You probably had 100 episodes since we shot that last episode.
How so?
You live in front of the camera, man.
You think so?
Yeah.
I actually took a small little break, if you ask me. That's how I feel.
I can't tell between how many channels do you have on Instagram right now? Your dog has an Instagram.
I got 5 pages.
Your dog has an Instagram page.
Yeah,
man.
Blaze Neighbors, go follow. Nice little shout out to Blaze. Little plug real quick.
All right, man. Well, episode 1, officially episode 1 right now. We're struggling coming up with a name for the podcast, and we ended up settling on something super unique. You know, something just.
It's original.
It's original. Are you ready? What is it?
The Rob and Cory show.
The Rob and Cory show.
But why is Rob before Cory, even though C is before R in the alphabet?
Cory and Rob just doesn't roll off the tongue, man.
I'm just saying I could be.
I mean, maybe it could be Cory and Rob, but it's, you know, you got the syllables. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Rob and Cory.
Yeah, because most people remember the last part of the name. I'm just kidding. I'm messing with you.
That's a good one.
No.
All right, Rob and Cory it is.
Rob and Cory it is.
Now,
so
hopefully nobody has the Rob and Cory show.
I know, man. If we looked that up, every single name that we came up with, we looked it up, and there was like 15 other podcasts with the same exact name.
Not every name.
We had a couple that were unique, but they were a little too unique. You know
well, it all depends on how the person took the name.
Correct.
So if it was a male or female, depending on where their mind was at.
That's factually correct. And the way that this dude talks too, that smooth ass voice, you know what I mean? Should we tell him what the name was that you came up with?
The name was called Ear Orgasm. So we did a quick poll with one woman and one male, and
let's just say we were 0 for 2 with that one.
When they found out it was 2 guys. When they found out it was 2 guys that was going to have a podcast called Ear Orgasm, it was like, no way.
But, you know.
But they said they would listen until they found out it was 2 guys. But it wasn't what.
All we were saying is that we were trying to make your ears satisfied. You know what I mean?
It wasn't
that's all we were trying to say.
It wasn't what they thought it was.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely. This show right here, what's the show about? This show is going to be about business. It's going to be about, it's going to be about a bunch of different things, right?
A bunch of different topics. I mean, we'll talk about business because, you know, Rob owns a small business, life. You know, I'm in the real estate business, so we'll probably talk a little bit about the real estate business. Family, things like that. So we're going to have a bunch of different topics. Health and fitness, since me and Rob are both just extremely just peeled. You know what I mean? We're just, you know, we're just both jacked. Should we show them? I knew that was coming up. Dude, that's your go-to on every podcast. Should we show them? You just can't wait to take your shirt off on a podcast for some apparent reason.
So this initial podcast, we're just gonna discuss Rob. We're gonna discuss Rob's journey, some of the things that he's been through in his life, and you know, we're just gonna get to know Rob of the Rob and Cory show. So why don't you hit us off, Rob? Why don't you start off and just kind of let us know? And I mean, you don't have to tell us like, you know, the day you were born from the moment you were 6 months old or anything like that. But some of the relevant things here that might be pertinent and be able to help our audience. I mean, you're currently a barber.
Cosmetologist manager.
He's not a barber. You might think he's a barber. You might mistake him as a barber.
Because I do a lot of men's haircuts and short women's cuts and a lot of kids cuts. So
I mean, if you walk past a barber, you walk past Rob, you might think they're doing the exact same thing, right?
Correct.
But Rob is qualified to do much more.
Correct.
Other than just fading people and whatnot. He's qualified to do everything else, including coloring and foiling and all the different things that cosmetologists do.
Yeah, I haven't foiled though in a long time, but I do bleach a little bit.
You do the frosted tips?
No frosted tips.
You put the little shower cap on and pull the tips out?
No.
Remember them kits that you could buy back in the day?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's not something you do?
No, I had that. I had the kit though. You want me?
You can hook me up,
the
man.
Frosted tips on the top.
Oh yeah. They got the boy band look coming back.
Make you look like you're, from a boy band. I
could probably pull it off, but that's the current Rob. So why don't we talk a little bit about, starting off here? I know that what year did you graduate from Cosmetology? I don't want to date you too bad, Rob.
I'm fine with my age.
Yeah. So how?
Especially being I'm so jacked.
Oh yeah, absolutely, bro. So I mean, why don't you start off? You went to St. Paul College. I know that because I know I knew people that went to school with you. Actually,
you do?
Yeah.
Oh, no names.
Sheila.
Oh yes, that's right.
Well, there you go.
Cedric's wife.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
so
right. Yeah, that's right.
So I knew she went to school with you.
That's right. Correct.
So why don't we talk about that? So why don't we just talk about your beginning? So why did you start cutting hair? When did you start cutting hair?
So my dad used to take us to barbershops back when we were younger, and I just remember him when we get back home, he would shape us up or do something to our hair, and he was never satisfied with what the final product was that he received when he would take us to the shop or take us to barber school, wherever he would take us. I just remember he would take us somewhere, and then he would come home and like tweak it, and then he started cutting our hair. And one day in 1986, I asked him for a quote unquote in style, whatever style that was back in the day, which was probably a flat top of some sort with like Big Daddy Kane or something like that. And, and he asked me, he said, "Do you like the way I cut your hair?" And my answer was no. And so he said, "Well, then cut it yourself." And so I started cutting my own hair. Then I started cutting his hair, my brother's hair, friends' hair, people at church, people I played basketball with. Started charging $1, and went to $2, to $3, to $5, and so on and so forth. Kept going up.
And that must be why you're so good at doing the price increases today.
He slid that one in there. He couldn't wait for that. Go ahead.
He's like, I charged $1. The next day it was $2. The next day it was $10. So how did that? You just said that you started cutting all these different people's hair. Was it like word of mouth? Were you putting flyers out there?
It was actually word of mouth.
And how old were you? Just so we know.
11.
You're 11 years old.
11 years old, hustling. I jumped off the porch at 11.
That's crazy, bro.
Making money. Started buying my own shoes in the 5th, 6th grade. Just hustling.
So I
used to cut grass and do all types of stuff, yard work and rake leaves and shovel snow.
So you go over there and cut the grass and cut their hair? No.
They were everybody would pretty much
cut.
Yeah, I had a lawn and hair service called Cut and Cut. No, a lot of people, everybody, mostly everybody came to my basement, and I started that at 905 Sherburne. That's in St. Paul, Minnesota. It was a little small yellow house that we moved into.
In Sherburne?
Yep, on Sherburne, 905.
Oh man, I used
to. That price value just went up probably.
I used to live on Sherburne too.
Really?
Man.
Yeah. I just increased the price value.
Yeah, you probably did, man. You probably did.
No. But my dad had a makeshift basketball hoop in the basement, so it used to be in between the beams. So if you were to dunk, the rim would kind of collapse by itself. All you had to do was push it back up. So it was like our first experience with a breakaway rim.
Oh, yeah.
It was down there. He would put a stool in the middle of the floor, dribble, and tell you to spin off of it. That's how you get the spin move away from the defender and, all types of stuff. Had a record player down there. That's where I started. Used to lift weights down there and 905 Ashland was the beginning of a lot of things. So cutting there, and then we moved to 905 Sherburne, sorry. Then we moved to 774 Ashland, and that's when it kind of really took off because I was cutting in high school, junior high, and people used to catch the bus home with me just to get a haircut. We lived on the street where you can only park on one side of the street, and people were parking on our side of the street, and the neighbors would think that I was selling drugs out of the house, and there had so much traffic and music blasting. But I mean, it's crazy that my parents believed in me enough to let me make that type of money and to cut hair and to be all through the community.
So right now you're probably what, 16, 17, 18?
At that time, on Ashland.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 16, 17. So we moved over there in I think 90, 91, somewhere in there. So yep, and pretty much, it was word of mouth. So if somebody tells you that you're good at something, pursue it. Keep doing it and keep trying to perfect it. Because what happened was when somebody told me I was good, every time they came back, I would try to be better than I was the last time. And so I still stick to that to this day. If you come and sit in a chair and you like the haircut, I guarantee you'll like the third or the fourth haircut, because the more and more I cut your hair, the more it grows and falls the way that I cut it. So when it grows back, it's easier for me to give you the style that you need, because it's tamed the way that I cut it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes I guess my haircut so special.
So you're like a hair trainer. You train hair.
Yes, I talk to hair. I train hair. I talk to hair. Yeah, all day.
My boy Rob is the hair whisperer.
Well, they actually call me the kid whisperer because the kids sit good in my chair, and not all of them, but I tell parents, which I do believe it's harder on the parents than it is on me. If the kid's not listening, if the kid's whining or crying or whatever the case may be, I tell them, as long as they're not swinging and kicking and punching, I'm fine. Crying is fine. I can take care of the hair. Crying is fine. It's not a problem to me. But by their third or fourth haircut, they'll be familiar with what I do. They'll be familiar with the clippers. They'll know that they'll get some sort of a prize when they leave, stickers, candy, whatever the case may be.
I know Jersey should look forward to them stickers, man.
He did.
Yeah.
And then usually the parents
he'd be like whispering, like, "Dad, you think Rob's gonna give me a sticker today?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. We'll see."
And then I don't give them one sticker. I give them a whole sheet of stickers. And parents would be like, "No more stickers this time."
If you ever miss a day, they'd be like, "Where's my candy at?
Yeah,
where's my sticker at?"
They start going to the spot exactly where the stickers are at.
For real?
Yeah, they start going to the spot.
So okay, so you did that, but when did you officially become licensed?
I became licensed in 1996.
Okay,
I do believe it was around April. So I was going to high school.
So you already had a clientele. You already had a gang of clients.
Oh yeah, I had a ton of clients. I was in cosmetology school, and some of my instructors, they got upset because I had so many people coming up there to the school requesting haircuts from me. So, you have to reach a certain amount of a quota for haircuts, facials, permanent waves, manicures, pedicures, and all that. So I was falling behind on those other categories, but my haircut category I had reached that quota and beyond. And so they used to tell people, don't book Robert any haircuts. And so, which was fine because I did have to do other things. But one of the things that one of the instructors told me, and it stuck with me for a long time. It didn't rattle my confidence, but when she said that if all you're doing is haircuts, you'll never make it in this industry. And I thought to myself, well, right now I'm in school, and at that time I probably would have been 17 or 18.
Mm-hmm.
I had already been cutting for 7 years. So it's like,
she didn't know that I started cutting at 11.
Yeah, but
so
there's a big difference between like a traditional cosmetologist and kind of what you do though, because you do kind of scale that line, that fence between a barber and a cosmetologist, right? So they're looking at it as they do these different services on women that maybe that they charge them $200-$300 or something like that, right?
Yes.
So they're looking at it as well. The haircuts, they can't eat off the haircuts, but they're not doing as many haircuts as you're doing. You can pump out, how many haircuts could you pump out in a day?
I've done between 17 and 20. At max, but now I don't do that number right now because I space them out a lot better. And with the price increase, you don't have to work as hard.
Yeah.
You get a price increase every 2 days, so back at you.
Exactly. He trains your hair to grow right, and then he's like,
and I train the prices too.
Exactly. Your hair's doing what I want it to do now. I'm gonna raise the price on you. I'm just kidding.
That's cruel, man. That's cruel.
All right, man. So let's just get into. I know that you've dealt with some other things too. So you got licensed in. I don't know. You told me what year did you get licensed? 96. Okay. Yep. From there, what barbershops were you at? If you don't mind me saying, you don't have to say what barbershops you're at.
Before we get into that, it took me, I do believe, 5 times to pass my test.
For real?
For real.
A written test, or was it?
It was the one on the computer. So
okay.
You'd have to drive out to Bloomington, and it was, I do believe at the time, $65 to take the test. And I studied. I was confident. I was ready. Went in there. It said you failed. Now the crazy thing about it is that you could schedule an appointment to come back and take the test within, I think, maybe a couple days or that following week or something like that. So I rescheduled it and I went in there again, studied, make sure I studied really good, and I failed it again. So after a couple times failing it, 2 or 3 times failing it, you kind of start second guessing your answers and things like that. And then you finally relax and you look at things and in a way of like, okay, if I can do this can possibly change my life. And so what I did on my fifth or sixth try, I realized how much money I had been spending, and I stopped second guessing myself. And it was one of those things where I was overconfident, and it kind of put me in my place. So the $200+ that I spent, once I passed my test, I made sure that I got back in the basement or wherever I went to and worked to get that money right back. Yeah. Because it was one of those things that kind of pushed me like, okay, I'm close, but I'm not there. Like I already got this, this is A, this is B. Then 2 or 3 times in, it's like, okay, this is A. Let me go back. No, it might be B. Let me change it. And then, it's like.
So in real estate, you have like a practice test that you take where it's like,
yep.
It's like exactly like the actual test. You take it and then everyone fails it. And then you sit for 3 hours and they drill the right answers in your head, and then you take it again at the end and you pass it and you make sure you're scheduled to take your actual test like the next day. There's
so
nothing
it's
like
fresh.
That. Yes, there's nothing like that with cosmetology where.
I can't remember. I know
it
we
probably
studied
is today, man. It's a long time ago.
Yeah,
right?
We studied, but like I said, it was just a humbling experience to where, all right, I got it. Not to be overconfident next time, whatever, that whenever I got to renew my license or whatever the case may be, but it was a good experience. To come in the door, but you got to think about it, how much money I've made before then.
I know, man. Yes, it's funny because you're cutting hair your whole life, and then you failed a written exam.
Yeah, so
you know what I mean. But that just goes to show that book smart, or the book knowledge ain't the real world knowledge. You know what I mean?
Because I've made that money, who knows how much, many times over, before I even got a license. So, but yeah, it was just one of those humbling experiences.
So okay, so you passed your test now. It's all, after failing it multiple times, you made your money back from the basement, but now you're like, I need to get a job.
Yeah.
So where are you going?
So one of the people that the school brung in was a guy by the name of Derek Parker. He came in and did a little demonstration at school, and you do a demonstration, and then you kind of pass your business card out and then try to recruit people to come work for you. So I lived a block and a half from Derek's shop. So word was already out that I was cutting hair. And I ran into Derek one time, and I used to go to his shop and cut his hair on Friday nights when I was still in school. I might not even been in school yet, but I know when I was cutting him, I was at school a few times when I used to go over to his shop, and it'd be a Friday. He'd be done with his clients. I'd go in there late Friday, cut his hair. I'm still cutting in the basement, and then still at school. But I started working there right after I got my license. So I was there for about 8 or 9 months. And from there, a friend of mine by the name of Omar Walford, he was in cosmetology school with me and a few other people. And we always talked about owning our own shop and kind of putting St. Paul on the map, because Minneapolis was always, they had tons of hair salons, and that's where you had the hair shows at and whatnot. So we talked about getting a shop together once he got out of school and I got out of school. So he got out of school, so I was at Derek's for about 8 or 9 months, and then we opened up a shop on East 7th called Innovations. So he had a salon. We had some barbers on one side of a partition wall. We had some stylists. Had a couple shampoo bowls. Had a waiting area. Real nice building. We should throw some of the best parties in the basement. And we were doing pretty good, but he just couldn't keep 1 foot in the shop and 1 foot out of the streets, and it just didn't work. And so that kind of went down the drain. I mean, there's a whole nother backstory about that, but
so you left the first place after 8 months, and then you went to another spot.
Yep, and that was pretty much going to be the start of us building out like a franchise type deal. The best hair shows, the best salons, the best parties. Just a whole brand. We had a logo. We had, I used to play in the Gusmacker, so we had sponsored our own team.
Rob's hooping. I didn't know Rob was a hooper. I'm learning new.
I loved basketball before I loved cutting hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started playing
so you were
basketball.
Like, should I go to the NBA? Should I become a cosmetologist? What should I do?
That was a dream to go to the NBA.
Yeah, that was all of our dreams, man. Too bad both of us combined are like the same height as like LeBron, man. I got to stand on your shoulders. We got to put a trench coat on, man.
Put it like this: when I used to play basketball, and then people found out I cut hair. They used to ask me, "So can you cut hair?" I said, "Well, I cut hair like I play basketball." And then people that I've started knowing from cutting hair, they said, "Oh, you play basketball?" They said, "Well, you good?" I said, "I play ball like I cut hair." And I just left it at that. So if you think I can cut hair, then that's the same way you would think about me on the court. And if you thought about me being on the court, that's the same way I'll be, behind the chair.
So your time with the second shop at Innovations abruptly ended.
Yeah, it was over.
How many months?
We were there for, I think, about a year and some months, and it abruptly ended. That was correct. It abruptly ended. And so at the time, I just scrambled and went down the street to another shop, worked down there for, I'd say, about another 9 months. Now, in this process, I'm still looking at spaces, looking at buildings, and wanting to get my own, and still, getting ready to get married, ready to start a family. So I had a lot of things going on, still trying to build my clientele. You know, people still looking for me from moving in certain spots. You know, we didn't have the internet back then. It was just a word of mouth or a business card, you know, and that's how people found you. Or somebody asked someone, you know, who cut your hair? You know, and a lot of times some of my clients didn't tell. You know, they didn't want you to come see me because then they felt like you would take their spot.
Nah, I know.
You know? So you must understand what I'm saying.
Back in the day, man.
It's like, who cut your hair? I cut it.
Like, well, you know, my boy Raul over at.
There would be people who'd be like, Rob, you still cut so and so? I'd be like, yeah. Man, I just seen him, man. He said he cut his own hair. I was like, well, hey, you know, that's flattering, you know. So they didn't tell you that they still come to me, but they'll tell you that they cut their
get in.
Yeah,
trying to make sure they can get in.
Yeah, so you know, it was cool, but yeah, I was there for I think about 8 or 9 months again. And one of the guys that worked there, he opened up his own shop, and I decided to move where he was going to.
So now you've been in cosmetology for 3 years or 4 years, and you've been to 4 shops.
Man. And you know what's crazy? Every shop I went to, I changed the dynamic. Like, I would bring in a lot of people, and there would be not everyone except for, you know, I would say the one that I've moved to. Mm-hmm. There was this thing where, you know, people want to share the customers, and they want you to give them customers, and I never was that type of person. I can't give you someone that I don't own or something that I don't own. If somebody comes in and they want to cut by me, and you tell me, man, tell them to sit in my chair, I can't make Cory go sit in your chair.
Man, it's so weird too, like as a consumer in a barbershop, because you might just walk into a barbershop and you're getting cut, and you can tell that the barber next to you is better than the barber that's cutting you. So then you're like, I want to make an appointment with the other guy. But then it's almost like they don't want to take you because they seen you in their boy's chair next to them. So it's like they're like, oh, I don't want to steal such and such's clients, so they don't want to take you. That's happened to me like a bunch of different times, dude. Where like I walk into a barbershop and I'm like, man, I'm getting cut by this dude, but that dude's way better. You know what I mean? But then they got a loyalty, so they don't want to do it. You know what I mean?
And I've had a lot of clients that I've gained like that. If somebody wasn't in, they would be like, I'm gonna sit in your chair. It's like, okay, I don't own you. I can't tell you not to, but I also can't tell you to go sit in that person's chair. And when I moved to the shop after I left, what was it called? The one after Innovations was Eric Townsend's shop. He actually owns a barber school in St. Paul. That was the first place where I was told to leave when I gave my 2-week notice. The same day.
It's a competitive kind of, that's the deal with the salon industry, and you were just too naive to know. Yeah, well, as soon as it's the same with the real estate industry. If I was going to say, hey man, I'm going to put in my 2 weeks, they'll just tell me to leave.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know how cutthroat the industry is. And I found that out in all the places that I've worked at. And I understand that, you know, you don't want your so-called employees to leave. But I think that in this industry, I know that in this industry, I would, if I had a place, my job would be to bring you in, teach you as much as I can teach you, and move you out and get the next person in. Now, say Cory comes in, he's doing good. Cory, I need you to get out there and duplicate what I'm doing, or, you know, you have your own way. Mm-hmm. You can be under the tutelage of me for so long, and then you have to spread your wings. So now Cory's doing this thing. Now I bring somebody else in. Now while Cory's doing this thing, somebody's like, well, where were you at before? And then where does it go back to? Cory was here. Mm-hmm. So now I have a good rapport of people that I've shot out the door. You know, I didn't want to keep you in and stifle your growth. I want to help you grow.
So how does that help you as a business owner owner of a barbershop to this, I guess be the place where barbers train and then leave, like this to be turning out new barbers? How does that help you? What's the benefit to you?
What is the benefit?
You said it gives you a good rapport, gives you a good reputation, but how does it benefit you?
I think that it benefits you by being connected. I think a lot of people look at the money like, okay, if he's gone, I have to pay the rent, which is understandable. But I want to build a place to where there's people waiting to get in because they know that it's good work done. They know that it's good business being done. They know that they can get there and grow. It's kind of like a school. Some of these shops that you see or that are around town, it's just money. It's about the money. It's not about me helping you grow. It's not about us building a good friendship. It's about stealing clientele. It's about getting upper hand. Nobody wants. I'm pretty sure there's some shops out there right now that work off of a good rapport, but a lot of shops in the industry, it's like the owner is the owner and everybody else is under them. Which, those are the titles, but I still want to help you. I still want to push you out the door. I want to, okay, so if there's a school and they're looking for some place to work, wouldn't you want your place to be the number one place where they can try and come in to work?
See, and there's the benefit right there. You got the reputation, so cosmetology school will say, let me just, this guy's about to graduate, why don't you go see Neighbors Cut, which is Rob's current barbershop.
Well, my one chair studio.
one chair studio right now.
It's just me. So, I do have bigger plans, for the future. But as I see people and as I cut people, like I cut a lot of barbers.
See, and I remember just based on something you just said. I remember I went to a place back in the day. I don't want to drop any names or anything, put anybody on blast. But I remember my barber was one of the better barbers in there. He was just a barber, and I remember he didn't get along with the master barber due to hold the master license for the spot.
Yep, that he had to cut under.
Correct. And I remember, and he was a lesser. The master barber wasn't quite as good of a barber, but when it came down to it, they couldn't get along, so one of them had to go. The better barber had to go, right? Because he wasn't the guy holding the master license.
Because the shop needed to stay open and ran by the person that had the master license.
Correct. So it's kind of like what you were just talking about. There's like this thing where it's like the owner's the owner and everybody's underneath him, right?
Yeah.
So and at some point, I guess skill doesn't really have anything to do with it. It's a credential at some point.
Yeah, but you want to be able to leave with skill. You know, you don't want to get thrown out when you don't have the skill. And you got to think about it, man. There's a lot of people out here that they feed their family off of this. So think about, you're not just helping that person, you're helping their family. You're helping some people put food on the table. Now, when you cut that off, I don't know what the situation may be. You may have to fire some people. I know that, that's a part of life. But if I can get you in there and I can help you be a better person for yourself and for your family, I think that far weighs the me getting you in there and just taking your money. What kind of person am I if I'm just getting you in there just so you can pay my rent? You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
I think it's bigger than that, and I don't think that there's a lot of people out here, especially if you see on social media, they don't show that a lot. It's all about the glitz and the glamour and the, I can do this cut, look at this, but you don't see a lot of the good camaraderie, of people pushing each other and doing better. You leave one shop and then you go to another. You don't see a lot of that. You do see some of it, but that's not what this world is based off of. It's not about helping each other out. It's all about let me get mines, which has been like that for a long time.
Are you talking about the cosmetology industry? Or are you talking about
both?
Okay.
I teach classes.
Yeah.
And I've been to some salons, and You know, you can attest to that because, you know, you've heard stories probably from your wife where there's people that have gotten fired and, you know, or they put their notice in and you have to leave the same day. They don't want you taking clientele.
Yeah, my wife is also a cosmetologist.
So I mean, it doesn't matter. It could be in the auto industry. You know what I'm saying? It could be in any industry. It's this type of mentality or womantality that, you know, it's mine's or my way or the highway.
Did you say womantality?
Yes, I did. What? There's women that own things too. You know, they have a personality,
mentality.
Well, I can't call a woman a man, so it's a womantality. I mean, I don't know.
Completely unaffiliated.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's a word, but take it and run with it. What I'm saying, the shop owners, you know, it's a mentality that they have, and then, you know, women have the womantality as well. So.
Shut the fuck up,
dude. Yeah, but men have the mentality, the mentality. Women have
you smoke fucking menthol cigarettes.
Menthol. Oh shoot!
All right,
that's funny.
We started. So right now we're at how many barbershops? We're like,
we are 3 barbershops in. So I was moving from Eric Townsend's spot where he told me to leave the same day I gave my 2-week notice. So, I mean, if he didn't want my rent for the next 2 weeks, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I moved down to a shop on Rice Street. A good friend of mine's had. His name is Goody. And what I didn't mention previously was...
He's your good friend. His name just happens to be Goody.
Yeah. Herb Goodwin. He's an older guy. Okay. He's a guy that actually taught me a few things in the industry. So when I was in school, I was on Christmas vacation one time, and he was working at a shop on Selby and Milton, and the owner had went to jail. We talked about this in our previous episode, and he needed some help, so I went down there and worked with him for 2 weeks, and that's when I made $1,000 a week for the first 2 weeks that I was there, and realized that I picked the right industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so he opened up a shop on Rice Street, and I was there. He sold it to a guy that was working at a different salon or barbershop on Selby, I think. So I was at Goody's for a good while. Say
Selby,
a little over.
Genesis barbershop?
No, the guy, no, he wasn't over there.
Okay.
But I was working with Goody for, I want to say, maybe a year, and that's when my health started going bad. But he eventually sold it to another guy. His name was SP, and it's crazy because when my health started going bad, my wife was pregnant with our first son, and Goody sold the shop maybe a few months before my wife was, actually about 6 months before my wife had our first kid. And in that time, it was kind of a rough patch between me and SP because he figured that I had been there long enough to where everybody thought that it was my shop.
Mm.
But I was still trying to find myself once again because now I had health issues. I recently got married, had a baby on the way, and here he is, telling me I need to give him clients. And it's like, it doesn't work like that, know, and then it's crazy because some people that started coming in the shop knew me, and then they started telling him, oh, he's been cutting since he was little, so he's got a big following. And we started to get close, and the weekend that my son was born was the weekend that he got shot. And he survived, but it was a bad shooting. And I came back to the shop the next week, and my book was gone. So I just assumed the police had it, so I called down to the station, and they had my appointment book. So they did, I guess, an investigation, and I was out of work, I do believe, for 11 days I didn't have a job when my son was born. So the first 11 days that he was born, I was just looking for a job.
I mean, a lot of people would have been on some sort of paternal leave at that point, right?
Yeah, but I was also
paternity leave, they call it.
Yeah, but I was also on dialysis.
Yep.
So I had to work. I couldn't take too many days off because I needed the money. So me not working and being on dialysis, that really wasn't conducive to the family at that time. And plus, I needed some mental break, from dialysis. That's 3 times a week, 3.5 hours every time you go. So it's like that was kind of my therapy, talking to my clients, seeing my clients, laughing, and then the next day you go back onto the machine, and then you feel like you've been ran over by a semi truck, and then start the day all over. Now you back doing your therapy, talking to people, cutting hair, and then the next day you back on dialysis for 3.5 hours. And
I feel like now I got to fill people in on the health condition. The health issue was kidney failure.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about that at another time. But Rob went through kidney failure a couple times in his life and had to deal with this dialysis. And his clients, myself included, know what it's like when he's on dialysis because we can't get in. So his whole thing about waiting, his whole thing about making people wait to get in with him is a real thing because that was a tough time, man.
Mm-hmm.
You had to fit the same amount of haircuts into 50% of the time.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I had to leave. I think I left work at 3. I had to be on. Actually, I think I left work at 2. I think I had to be on the machine by 4 or 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I got off, it was like 6:30. Close to 7. You sit there and with all getting hooked up and whatnot, and then unhooked up and making sure your head's right that you can drive. It was just a long process, and there'd be times where I just didn't drive home. I would go to the hospital straight from dialysis because I crashed, and crashing means that you passed out on the machine. So in other words, they've pulled the blood out of your body so fast that your body's not reacting right, and then you faint or you cramp up or you get lightheaded. It was so many different variables that came with doing dialysis. So dealing with that and then trying to work was a tough task, and it seemed like I was in the hospital at least once a month for a whole year, or you get these stretches where you're in the hospital every other week, so dealing with that and then trying to juggle a clientele who are in so many different professions that need to look good, and then they go somewhere and then they get messed up, and they're out there pulling their hair out like I want Rob to be hurt, but I also need to look good, so it was an interesting dynamic. So but I mean, I appreciate all my clients out there that stuck by my side and, that called me to see how I was doing for 10 seconds and asked when I was going to be back to the rest of the 50 seconds.
How you doing, bro? I'm looking real fucked up right now, and I'm wondering. And then there was me like, hey, man, can I get in at 2? And I get there at 2. Don't sit in the chair till 4 because you got 10, 15 people in front of me.
4? More like 2:35.
Might be a little bit of an exaggeration there.
A little bit. No, I know some people like that though. And there's some things that you have to work on. Time management.
Yeah, but I mean, it was because you were backlogged because you were in dialysis all that time.
Yeah.
So that was the time that I'm referring to, man.
Yeah, you think about it. If I'm cutting 5 days a week and then I'm doing dialysis 3 times a week. So you take those hours that I'm leaving early, which is 4, 8, 12. That's pretty much a day, almost in a half. So now I'm only really working 3 and some odd days trying to fit in a week's worth of clientele, you know, and then you got to think about the way my body's feeling. So it was so up and down, man. It was crazy.
So we got to Goody.
Yep.
We still haven't got to backstage, man.
Backstage came right after I was looking for a job.
So backstage is a spot that you probably spent the majority of your career at.
14 and a half years.
14 and a half years. So you spent the first 4 years at 4 different shops. By 6 years, you were what? Five or six different shops, and then you stayed at backstage for 15 years, 14 and a half years.
Yeah, and I stayed there, which I never planned on staying there that long. And I assumed that there was going to be a short-lived time span there because I want to get my own space. Now, when I got there, I was on dialysis already. And like I said, my son was 11 days old. So I got there in December, and I got my transplant from my brother that following year in July. So after I got my transplant, now you got to think about it, that after a transplant, you have 3 months to recover. So you got July, August, September, probably back to full speed somewhere around November, December, you know. So
we were all looking so fucked up during that time.
So y'all basically went through you basically went through like a COVID lockdown.
That's
before.
What I'm saying,
yeah,
man. We were all looking like fucking cavemen by the time he came out and was recovered.
Yep. So full strength somewhere around December, maybe feeling a lot better about myself. And at that time, I was just happy to be alive. Honestly, I was just happy to be alive. So as far as like getting my own spot, it was there, but it wasn't a burning desire like it was when I was in school and everything. So being focused on being alive, you know, just having a son, you know, being married, starting to start a family. I think about the 7th or 8th year in, it was like, okay, I just kept feeling that burning desire, like coming back, like you need your own, you need your own, you need your own. And so once I started looking, I needed a second kidney transplant. I got sick, really sick one time, and the doctors, they told me I had walking pneumonia, and they prescribed me Augmentin. And so what Augmentin did was it had me throw up for 3 straight weeks along with diarrhea. And so it killed my good and my bad cells. And that first week that I took it, when I was sick, I went to the hospital and they threw me back on dialysis. So now I'm back on dialysis after looking for a shop that previous month, 2 or 3 months prior to that. And it's like, now I feel like I fell back down to zero again. Mm-hmm. Now I need another kidney. Now I have 3 kids.
How many? You got 3 kids, but how many kidneys you got?
Now in my body?
Yeah.
Well, after they had my brother's kidney failed, I have 3 kidneys. But now, after my dad gave my one of his kidneys, now I have 4 kidneys in my body.
So you got more kidneys than kids, man.
Yeah, I have. I have 4 kidneys, but only one works though.
Okay, that's insanity, man.
Yeah. So, and they put the new kidney in your stomach. So my kidneys are not in the small on my back like most people's kidneys. My working kidney is in my stomach. They put it in the front and leave the old ones in.
Okay. You can't tell, man, because dude, you're ripped as shit, dude. You can't tell, bro.
And that's one of the things of being focused and determined, man. You know, if I were to let that get me down, I would never be where I'm at today.
So let's talk about where you're at today. You just showed us the journey from being a young kid, starting to cut people's hair all the way through barber college, all the way through all of these different barbershops, and now finally having your own spot. Let's talk a little bit about that. You left backstage. You started your own salon suite.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you brought all of your clients, which included myself. don't we talk about that? It's located in Maplewood. It's in a solo salon right now. You know, I guess what has been kind of some learning points for you starting your own salon? Are you happy you made that move? Are you not happy? Have you seen your business grow since you left Backstage? What's some of the benefits? Where are you at right now?
Well, I am happy that I made that move because I felt like it helped me get refocused. I feel like I'm back in the basement because I'm by myself. So I can hear myself think, I can see myself work better, there's less distractions. And I'm also teaching classes. So I'll teach a cosmetologist or an aspiring person who wants to go to school to cut hair or do hair in my studio one-on-one. Hands-on. I'll do one side, they'll do one side, I'll critique their work, they'll continue on the side that I started, and so on and so forth. Then I'll also teach groups of people that work at a salon. So I'll go to the salon and teach them, or they will come to me inside the creative space room that Solar provides for us to use. And in the past, depending on who owns the building, they get the license. I also teach continuing education classes. So I can give you the 4 hours of the 8 that you need to continue your to renew your cosmetologist license. And with that, I've helped some cosmetologists, gain their license back. So helping them put food on their table,
So is that like an elective class, or is that like what's required? Like, did you used to teach what you teach, fades and stuff like that? Or
basically, you have to tell the board what kind of class you're teaching, and my class consists of sanitation. So I'll show you how to clean your clippers, show you how to adjust your clipper blades. I'll show you how to do certain haircuts. So those 4 hours are the hands-on, and then the other ones are the written. So I don't do the written; I just do the hands-on, the practical. So that's one of the.
Ain't that a bitch that you failed your class? You failed your test 4 or 5 times, and now you're teaching the classes.
And not only that, what also is a bitch is that I was told that I wouldn't make it in the industry if I only cut hair. So now I'm teaching cosmetologists who did not get taught how to cut hair in cosmetology class.
That's crazy, man.
So it's kind of full circle.
Yeah.
And I'm also at the county jail. I cut at the county jail downtown St. Paul. I haven't been in there for, I say, a little bit over a year because of COVID. They're still on lockdown, but I'm also at the juvenile detention jail. And so I go in there and cut the youth. And that's about once every month and a half. They'll call me up and they'll tell me how many kids that they need cut. And I'll go in there and I'll talk to the kids, try to motivate them to do better and, give them different mindsets on what they're doing and how not to be in that situation again, because I think a lot of times that we look at these kids and we always say that they're bad, but you got to look where they came from and who's assessing them and what's put in front of them. If you close down all the rec centers, you take away all the funding, and then you don't put things in place and you don't assess them correctly, I think that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get what we get right now. So I'm going in there talking to them and trying to let them know that whatever they're doing, let's switch that over to something positive to where you can get paid from it and not end up in jail from it. You can go in and steal a car and get caught, but how about you go in and install a stereo system and get paid?
Yeah, I like that.
So let's switch the mindset. And it's kind of hard to do when I'm in there for a short period of time, and then if they get released, they go back to the same group of people or the same home or broken home, or get placed in a group home or something, to where now you're back in the same old, routines. And so what I'm telling you falls on deaf ears, but hopefully someday I can get a program going in there to where we can mentor them further than just them being inside the correctional facilities.
But for the time being, man, it's good that you're mentoring them as you're cutting their hair.
Yes. Yes.
Because you might be the only positive thing that those kids have at this point.
I tried something the last time I was in there. I told the kids, well, they called the juvenile detention center called me and told me that they had 25 kids that needed a haircut. So I told them that I had to do that over a 2-day span. So when I went in there and I started cutting the kids, I told them that when they were done, I said, you owe me for this haircut. And he said, well, I can't pay you. You know, you had to get that from the county. I said, no, you owe me 20 push-ups. And some of the kids, you know, they were reluctant, or someone was like, no, I'm not doing that. And so I just broke it down to them like, okay, so you chose to come in here and give these people your time. That was your choice, to come in here to get told what to do, when to do, and how to do it, because you didn't have enough self-discipline on the outside to do this yourself. So they're going to tell you when to eat, when to sleep, when to wake up, when to go outside, everything, when you can use the phone. Now, my job is to come in here to make you feel a little bit better. And what I require today is just 20 push-ups.
So what if you said no? Would you just, I'm not cutting you?
No. But it was a logical thing, and some of the kids was like, you know what, you're right, you know. And so they dropped down to do the push-ups, and I said, wait. I said, I'm gonna do them with you. They're like, for real? I said, yeah, I can't tell you to do something, you know, I'm not, you know, hold myself accountable too. So in a 2-day span, I did 420 push-ups with every kid that I cut. So I do believe 21 cuts or something like that, because a couple got released early. But yeah, I ended up doing 420 push-ups. So 20 push-ups with every kid. And what's crazy is that every kid that got done doing the push-ups, they got up, I gave them a handshake, you know, pat on the back, and they said, thank you. Like, thank you for making me do this, or thank you for holding me accountable, which was kind of cool, because, you know, I'm doing them with them. And so that showed them that I'm not just telling you to do something, I'm showing you that it can be done too.
Sometimes when Rob gives me a fade, I just go do like 20 push-ups to get that pump. You know what I mean? So I can look in the mirror. So I know how them kids are feeling.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. And I posted that on my social media, and, you know, a lot of people thought that was cool. And like I said, I only did it just to see if I can hold them accountable, because, you know, a lot of times they're in there with people. I know some of the COs do a good job, and then there's some that just, you know, they look at them as a certain item, or paycheck. And once you go in there and you change the culture, everybody feeling good, everybody looking at each other, talking about themselves, it changes the whole atmosphere in there. I had a supervisor tell me, you know, we're going to have a good day today. Everybody got their hair cut. Everybody's in the mirror. You know, staff's happy. You know,
look at this, how the perpetual pump they all have in their chest.
Yeah, so
swole.
So, you know, when you exercise, it makes you think a little bit clearer.
Yeah, definitely, man.
For some
it's
apparent reason.
That release of serotonin, man.
Yes.
Makes you happy.
So you do that. You got a haircut. Now I tell them, it's like, so where you gonna show the haircut off at? So it would be better if you were on the outside, right? So, you know, I still got to give them a jolt of reality. Like, you got a haircut, you look good, but where are you going?
Yeah.
Who's going to see it? Wouldn't you rather have this on the outside?
You make him feel good, and he just like, go back to hell.
That's not what I don't. Not like that, but, you know, just give him a quick joke. Like,
yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, like, just to get him thinking, like, man, I wish I looked like this outside. Maybe I won't do this again. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I give him all my business card. You know, tell him, you know, call me when you get out. You know, come get a haircut. Let's chop it up. See how you doing. So.
Yeah, that's good.
I've yet to have one kid come though. It's kind of crazy. It's all the kids that I've cut.
Oh, for real?
I've yet to have one. I've seen one on the streets and ended up seeing him back in there.
Oh.
And that was kind of, you know, like. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying hopefully someday I can get something in place to where when they get out, they can still get mentored by the likes of people like me and you and other people that I know that are doing positive things in the community, and, you know, they have things going for themselves that some of the kids can listen to.
Definitely. So if somebody's listening to this podcast right now, is in the area and they wanted to get a Nabors cut,
yep,
What would they have to do? Where do they go?
They would go to www.naborscut.com. That's NABORSCUT.com. And you can book on my website. You can look through my website. You can shop on my website. So
there's a lot of other things involved with this Neighbors Cut thing, man. We got merch.
Yes, we do have merch. we do have merch. We have cups. We have a book coming out, being released on my 11th year kidney anniversary of March 13th, 2023. So 3/13/23, my first autobiography will be released, and pre-sale start December 13th of 2022. So it's something that I've been working on with a friend of mine, Second Childhood Publishing, by the name of Sean Stewart. We've been working on this. We've had this in the works for about 3 to 5 years, somewhere in there. We've been talking about it and actually working on it for the last 3 to 5 years. So it's been kind of a good little journey, through COVID and all of the things that life brings you. So
I don't think you're supposed to say COVID on a podcast, man.
Really?
We gonna get shadow banned on episode 1, man.
Oh, COVID. You're not supposed to say COVID?
No, I don't know. That's what everybody says. Don't say the C word.
Oh, what, it dates it?
No, man, it doesn't date us. They're worried about the algorithm hearing the word COVID and then not wanting to push it out.
Oh, through all the things that have been going on in the last
correct. I think we're fine.
Few years.
This thing that happened. Episode 1 in the books. And I can't wait to see everybody on the next episode.
That's what's up. Peace.
Watch me educate. Yeah, we been could've started, but it's never late. Do it for my kids, yeah, let's set it straight. Do it for your kids, gotta set it straight. It's time to regulate. We need change now. We need solar, we need EV in the game now. Making changes so the earth we know can stay around.